All right. Thank you for joining us on this call. My name is Steven. This is my mother, Cecilia. We have been going on a journey of
That
KDP.
is a good word for it.
I have been doing the POD business for a couple of years now. We always like helping people. Something that I've been struggling with as we grow our business is just remembering what it was like to help newer people. The original thought was, oh, I'll just help my mom get an account up, get a few sales. It shouldn't be that hard. And then we can move on. And then I can kind of bring people into where we are training them, which is like understanding the customer, growing, scaling the business. And then quickly found out that as I was helping my mother, there are people that are just struggling with a lot of things that I have not even thought about in many years because I started this journey 15 years ago. And even my mom was like, I don't know how to split the screens. I was like, oh, okay. There's a lot more learning that I have to do and educating that I have to do in order to get you to the place where you can even like start and open up an account.
Right.
So I think it was very fascinating. It seems to have helped a lot of people. I've had people asking me, where is it at? What's going on? And now we just want to do a follow up. It's been a few months now from when we first started this journey. And it was interesting for me to see my mom go from frustrated to overjoyed to back to frustrated to finding success. And then just like it's the entrepreneurial journey, but it was just interesting to see it from a son's point of view, seeing my mom go through these trials and tribulations. So you've been asking me a few questions and I've been answering them, but I want to do it more publicly again. So I know you've learned a lot and I just want to hear
Yes.
from you.
I have.
How do you feel from starting to where you're at now? And just like elaborate on your side of this journey
Okay, well, I feel like
and the
it's been
lessons
a
you've learned.
few short months and I have come a long way from not even basically knowing how to work my way around the computer was a big stumbling block for me, but you helped me on that. I don't have my notebook in front of me anymore. Everything's on the computer. I went from scratching the notes on pages and pages of paper to using the computer for my notes and then figuring how to find the notes. So that's been all a journey, and you helped me along the way. So that was great. And the first week, I remember you were like, "We're gonna have a book up on the end of the week," and I was like, "Okay, this is never gonna happen. I could not see how this is gonna happen." But I did, and I kind of figured it out, and you helped me, of course, and it's been fun to learn all the different parts of it, doing the artwork and doing the research, and it's been struggles, but
I
it
guess
was good.
let me ask you that. When you started, did you think it was this many steps involved?
No, of course not.
But now that you've done them, you see that they're not that difficult.
No, they're not difficult, and I was really overwhelmed. I was like, "Oh, this is not gonna happen. No, no way." But I did it. I'm impressed with myself actually that I did it.
It's
And then
interesting for me to see it because I was just like, oh, it's so easy to do that. And then seeing that you struggled through like almost every step was very interesting to me.
well,
But
I'm so
you
used to
did accomplish it.
shuffling papers around and finding my stuff on my papers. Like that's like old school, I guess. But I mean, that's how I always did everything. So, uh, just to have everything on the computer, not even knowing how to what to click, the middle wheel, and all of that. I didn't know any of that. And then, like you said, with the putting the two pages next to each other on the computers, two pages, I guess you call it, side by side.
Windows.
Windows, yeah, I don't even know all the terminology, but I figured out how to move the tabs around and do all that. I mean, that was a big hurdle for me. Not the KDP so much. That was a big hurdle, but just to figure out how to use the computer to do what I wanted, you were trying to teach me.
Yeah, I guess the process. I've always done the process online. And it was interesting to me that you were doing everything on with pen and paper and just transitioning that your process to online. I guess that was like a
That was big.
unknown for me that I just assume everybody is doing
Yeah.
it this way. And then you were like, no, I've never opened up a Google sheet. I was just like, oh, okay, I have to, instead of showing you our process, I have to help you build a process that
What
works
worked
for
for
you.
me.
And now
Right.
to where you even telling me last time is like, you just have a sheet that you open, like, these are the windows I need to open in order to do this process.
Right.
It was interesting to me because like I'll have it saved at the top as tabs, or like I'll have all the information, but you actually had it on a document. I was like, it works. It's
Because I
definitely
wanted
not
to write it down on a piece of paper.
it wasn't the way that I would have solved that problem, but it's just helping you solve problems in a way that work for you was a bigger aha moment for me. And I think that helped me start to understand how to help more people. It's just like, oh, okay, our process and the way that we do things, even on like the base level, is still maybe something that people can't grasp. So when we
Yeah.
start here and we teach from here, like we're losing everybody as soon as we keep moving on. Because then I was saying, like, all you have to do is grab this information, put it into our tool, and then you were like, I can't grab that information because it's not anywhere.
Right. I mean,
And
even
it
to
was very interesting.
highlight the words, to triple click them, to put them on this other thing. I mean, it's very easy now, but if you don't know how to do it, then it's like a mess.
So it's like
So
that initial learning curve to even get in the game. I feel like that took us a
was,
while.
yeah.
But then once you had better understanding of just like how to manipulate the things, that's when it seemed like KDP kind of, I don't know if it clicked immediately, but it was like it wasn't hard to like set up an account and get an account.
No, it was not. But just the process of doing it was a process for me. And then getting the account. I mean, that seemed like a big hurdle, but then now in hindsight, okay, yeah, that was not as difficult and everything was not as, it wasn't difficult. It was just like figuring it out.
Yeah, like you said,
And
it is a process. It probably is bigger in your mind than when you're actually going through it. But once
yeah,
you do it, then you can look back and go, oh, it wasn't that difficult. It wasn't that hard. But I guess this, for me, went in stages. It was like that first initial, us just trying to figure out common ground to be able to communicate, to like get something done. Then it was getting the account was like the first benchmark. Then it was the first listing, which I remember being very enjoyable for me because I think that was another thing that you built up. I don't know about built up in your head is the right word, but it seemed to you to be way more difficult than it was. And I was just like, just do the process. It is a process, but once you do it, you'll see like, oh, it's not that difficult. But I remember
right.
asking you to make that first listing by the next day, and you were like,
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Well, it was like on a Wednesday, and you're like, "We'll have it by Friday." I was like, no." I didn't really say no to you, but I was like thinking, "No, this is not gonna happen." And then you just stepped through it, stepped through the processes, and was like, "Oh," I was afraid to click that submit for publishing button, checking everything to make sure it was set, and then that was cool. And then to like find my book up or find it. Well, the first few books, of course, were like
you
I
couldn't
couldn't
find
even
them.
find them.
I just
So
want
I
to
was like, how can
go back.
anybody buy that? I can't even find it.
I want to go back to what you said about the first book that you did and having that fear of clicking
Yeah.
that first time. I think this is another big aha moment for me because we had a computer from a very early age. I remember
Yes.
Uncle sent us one, and then I remember we built one
Probably
shortly
you were
after.
second, I think second or third grade.
I remember we had one like way before a lot of other people, and it was very interesting. But I think from growing up with a computer, I kind of know like the extreme of things and knowing like when it's pretty safe to click on things and knowing like when I can reverse them versus like, oh, it's I just clicked that, I fully messed it up forever. For me, there's like a huge backlog of being comfortable with clicking things.
Yeah.
And I think that when you said that, the fear of clicking might be another hurdle that people have is like, I'm afraid to click this because I don't know what's going to happen. Versus me, where like, I'm going to click this and just whatever happens, I know I can deal with whatever the next thing is. Maybe that's like a difference between like, especially now with the newer generations where kids are on the phone just clicking like all kinds of stuff and just like learning that process.
Right.
That process for you is maybe a little different because as you do things outside of the computer world, like a lot of those things are permanent more than just like when you click on things, it's very quick to just like click back or like whatever. The programs are made for you to click and then be able to click back.
Right.
Whereas like
It
if you
used to
use
be,
your
I
pen and
think, if you
pencil
click
and
on
you
something,
write
you
something down,
mess
it's
it up.
more permanent. Like you have to then pull
Yeah.
out the eraser.
Well.
with a computer, it's like so fast to do all that stuff. I don't have a fear of clicking. But maybe that's another thing we should be addressing is just like, don't be afraid to click. Like we say, don't be afraid to take action, but maybe it is that we should refine that a little bit and say, don't have a fear of clicking because everything in here can be undone. There's no like permanency of any of this. There's nothing that you can truly mess up. Like, especially when you get started, I don't think there's anything, especially inside KDP, that you could click on that would like destroy your account.
Hmm.
Everything in there is fairly safe to click on.
Well, I realize that now.
Well, I think that's what it is like a learning process to feel comfortable with clicking.
Yeah.
Like you've never opened up KDP before, you've never set up an account before. I think it's the
It's the
fear of
fear of
the
the
unknown.
unknown. Exactly.
Okay. That was just interesting though. You said that the click, like you were nervous to even click that. Whereas me, I was like, I don't know that, especially when I started, I was like, I don't know this, but I'm just going to click. I just
Yeah.
want to get a listing up as quick as possible to
I
know
like
what the
checked
buttons are.
it, double checked it, went back the page. It was like, I get everything in there.
Yeah, it's interesting. The way I learn is more like I know I'm going to mess something up. I just want to make all the mistakes as fast as possible so that I can do them better next time. Whereas you're like a little more reserved and cautious moving through the process.
To have it right before yeah. So
Okay, so
another thing is the doing the 100
listing
listing
products.
challenge, which was for the shirts, but I kind of took it on for KDP just to see, to challenge myself. And that was so good to like, just to do it and practice it. Cause I want every book I did was like, I want that one to be the seller. So then I did one. Well, I think I told you this might be ahead of the game, but I did one. I set myself a time, like, okay, I'm going to do 3 in an hour. And I did it. I like forced myself to do 3 covers and 3 insides and 3, the titles and the subtitles and everything and the description in an hour. And I did it, forced myself to do it. And actually, one of those books is like a big seller. Not that I have a ton of sales, but it's one of the more sellable ones that's getting more hits or
I
something.
think that I hope this is very powerful for people getting started. The fact that you went into this very, I don't know about scared, but just
Yeah, I
nervous of
would
the
say
process,
scared.
and then to where you're at now, where it's you have confidence. Like you
Yeah.
build confidence in this process. When I'm helping people, I guess I'm just assuming like you have confidence going into this because I've been an entrepreneur for so long that like anything I do, I just bring in confidence to it. It's just like I'll figure this out. But maybe explaining things to people in a way that it's like the like you said, the first one that you wanted was gonna, that's the one that's going to sell. Like you're betting the house on this.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm just like, I know if I take enough action, one of these is going to hit, and then I can learn from this success.
Yeah, I didn't
I'm just like
understand that
peppering
at
out
first. You said it, but it didn't,
click.
yeah. I still wanted everyone to love every book that I made on there.
That's a big discussion that me and Dana had too, because he is an artist. Like when he made the shirt, he would put a lot of time, like spend all day on crafting the shirt and then putting up a listing, and then it wouldn't sell. I don't know if it really bothered him, but he just didn't want to be perceived as like not an artist. And I was like, brother, like you have to test the market. Like you have to speed this up. You can't do one listing per day because then you'd have
Not much.
300 shirts max because you're going to take days
Yeah.
off. Like you're only going to have 300 shirts up in a year. That's not enough data points to know what works. So I was like, we got to get like more than that in a day to
Well,
be able to
because one
figure
of
out
the
what's going
book
on.
covers I took a long time to like, I wanted it to be really nice, and I took a lot of different designs into it and different uh, aspects or whatever to use
Elements.
elements
That
from
wasn't the
the.
one that I said is not going to sell, was it? The one that was in the
No.
wrong place? Oh, I
Oh.
was going to feel bad now that you're building it
No,
up.
no,
And I was
no.
like, that one's horrible. It's never going to work.
No, that didn't sell anyway. But I felt really good, proud about that one. And then that one has not sold. So I'm like, oh well. And the one that was like a 2-minute thing, whatever, that one's selling. It's like, okay.
Yeah, we are trying to understand the customer, discover the customer. In the beginning, it must seem just like magic, but after I've been doing this for years now, like I kind of have a good understanding by just looking at the results page of what's going to work here. And I guess that was what I was really trying to give you, but I understood in the beginning, like it's too much information.
Right.
What's really going to help you instead of trying to like understand the market and do the research is just taking
That was
action.
very good to just do a lot of them.
So
Was hit because you run into problems, and then you get the letter from KDP that says, "Oh, this didn't fit," or whatever. I'm like, "What? Like, what is going on?" So then I was like, I wanted to ask you, but you were busy. So I was like, all right, I guess I have to figure this out by myself. So, and that was really good, like, because I figured out how to fix the problem. And then later on, when I had that problem, I was like, oh, I could just whatever. I knew how to fix that right away. Like, I could actually figure out the problem before it even got published, because I knew to look in the right place or whatever, at the guidelines and stuff, which I didn't before. So I was like, oh, I know how to get this on there, and da da da. It was so much easier after I already had that problem to figure it out.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to teach you, but learning on your own, I think, had more of a deeper impact.
Yeah,
Like I might
because
have guided you through this, but I think as you learn those lessons, then it like locks them in. Because you said something to me like when you were rewatching some of the videos, is like, oh, I forgot we even talked
yeah,
about this. There was so much information that you gave me that I wasn't able to even take any of that in. And I was like, I think it's the same thing for us. I just understand like when I'm going through a new process, I'm going to try to take in as much information as I can, but understand that I'm losing a lot of understanding from just the process. Like you said, when you're going through and clicking on something, it's even when we were going through and I was showing it, here's the title, here's the subtitle. It was like I was explaining those things, but I think I should have just said, put something in here and move on, because understanding will come over time, like what you should be putting in there. Because you kept on
mm-hmm.
asking me like, how do I title the book? How should I title the subtitle? I want to do all the keyword, not stuffing, but I want to make sure these are most impactful keywords. And I was like, the title and the subtitle are important, but not as important that you're making them to prevent you from doing the process.
Right,
So just taking action, I think, is the, we've said it before, but like creating your first 100 listings seems to be that magic that then you have understanding. It was like after that 100 went up, because there was a lot of questions that you had in the beginning that I was just answering the same way
yeah,
almost every
like
time, and it
just
just
do it,
couldn't do it.
yeah,
And then it was like after you did it 100 times, it was like, okay, now I see. When I ask you this question, it's not like you can't give me a yes or no answer. It's a depends answer that you have to
right,
give me, and it
true.
depends on all of these other things that now I know. As before, I was asking you the title, when there's back end keywords, there's
Oh,
how the
there's a lot of
customers are looking at. Yeah,
factors.
it's I'm unable to explain all of that. I'm just trying to answer it where it's like, here's enough information to give you what you need, but it wasn't clicking because I think you weren't taking enough action. So taking action, making the listings. If you're starting
Yes,
this process and you've gotten here
definitely.
and you have not made listings, just go through and make listings.
Yes,
They're not going to be good.
definitely.
You're going to have all kinds of emotional, entrepreneurial roller coaster way of like creating listings. You're gonna make 10 and feel like you're rocking it, then enough something's gonna happen and you're gonna feel like you don't know anything. It's just the part of learning and doing, but taking action, getting those first 100 listings up,
Yeah,
I think is the
definitely.
most important part of this process.
Yeah, because you don't even know like the questions that you need to know. You don't even know what's going on. But even I was gonna say, like, on the first, I was doing monogram books at the beginning, but my title was like C. Like, okay, I didn't understand. Like, you need a little more information on that. So, but
Yeah, just knowing like, should it go in the actual title or should it go in the subtitle? Should it go in the back end? That's why I said just start somewhere. I had a feeling those monogram journals were not going to work, but it was like the importance of this selling is not the important piece. It's the get these books up and find a process that works for you. It was a way for you to do research quickly and develop 24 books.
right.
And
So,
I
and
think
that
that
was
just
good.
helped with like getting
Yeah,
books up. And then you would come to me and say, okay, I made A through F and all those books went through, but then like the last four after that didn't. What changed? It's the
right.
same subtitle, the same back end the same everything. And it was like, that was another aha moment for both of us. Cause I was like, I do remember starting this process and some books would just get rejected and it would drive me insane because I was like, I just like, it's the same information. What changed? The picture, like I can't use this B, like then you talk to Amazon, there's no answers and you just like, it's very frustrating. So now knowing like some things are just going to get rejected. There's no like rhyme or reason to some of them. Some of them you can figure out, but some of them are just like, it's just a process of every so many books, one gets rejected and you're just not going to know what to do
And
and just
actually,
move
I
on from
sold
that.
two, not for my first set, but this
The
next set.
monogram.
The one with the flower on it?
You
Because
saw the
remember,
monogram
two
journal?
of those. I was like, how did people even find that? I don't know, but they did. Two different letters. And I remember at the beginning, I just had a
That's
plain
fascinating.
cover, and then you were like, they're all flowered. They're all flowered. I'm like, well, I don't like flowers on it, but I guess people do. So then I went with the what is selling. So I put the flowers on there, and those actually sold. And I kind of improved the title a little better as I went on. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, I think from selling online for so long, I have been able to separate myself from what the customers want. And I think
that's
that took
important.
you a
Yeah,
long time, which that was probably the most frustrating part for me because you kept on saying like, "Oh, it's a camping journal." There, I would want this on a camping journal. I was like, "Well, if you look at the results page, nobody else wants that, or at least that's not what they're buying. Like, make what's here. Like, don't
right,
copy directly what's here. But if they want a camping journal, they're gonna want a tent on there. They're gonna want like camping stuff on there. You put like a boat and a lake, and I was like, nobody like that. Nobody's seeing camping and a boat and a lake. That's your own like personal bias that you're putting
right.
onto this.
And I
It's
didn't
not going to
understand,
work.
like, well, that's what I think about camping, you know? I was like, no, that's not what it
But
is.
I guess that's a lesson that you learn over time is that like you're you're creating the art, so you obviously are bringing bias to it. How can you at least help yourself by seeing what's working and applying that, like the
Right.
monogram, like you said, you made a whole bunch of monograms. The one that I said, hey, flowers, as far as monograms are concerned, people love flowers, why don't you try flowers? And then you did, and those are the ones that are working because that's what the customer is
Right.
looking for.
Which is kind of like against me, but I was like, okay, if that's what the customers want, then you got to give them what they want, whether I like it or not.
We had a few conversations like that too about just the business, about you liking to do the covers and you liking to, and I was like, it is a business. Like when you're setting up a business, it doesn't matter like your likes. You're trying to provide a service for the customer. So if you're providing a service for the customer, you have to do what the customer wants in order to collect the money. He's not going to pay you for something that you want.
Right.
You would pay for that, but you're not your ideal customer. You're trying to provide something for a customer base that's already out there.
Mm-hmm.
Once you provide that for them, then it was like a case of what to do with that information, how to apply that information, just thinking differently about the process. Because I think it's much easier when you're starting out to go and find areas in the market, which is this is going to be a little vague and I apologize, but finding areas in the market that are being underserved. This is much easier said than done. But even in the monogram, there are very similar things that you can pick up from those customers. If customers like the monogram journals and they like flowers, like you can take that information and go, probably a lot of people that are buying journals like flowers, and then test that idea into
Of
the market.
yeah.
And I guess that's the part of the business that I like because I'm peppering the market, finding out what works, and then applying that information to other things that I'm doing. And it's a lesson I've learned over 15 years. So it's not something I'd be like, Ma, this is easy. I look at this and I clearly know what I
Right.
should be
I
doing
don't
next. And
see that
yeah,
clear path.
it's a process for you getting started to think about that. And just taking your, like I said, your personal biases out and then just looking at the market very analytical and seeing what you should be doing with that information. The art is something that is very subjective. It's not the part of the business that I'm good at, but as far as like keywords and how they're searching, that I feel like I was able to help you with.
Yeah, and then it got fun, like to put the keywords and the titles in and then see if I could out, not that outsell, but out get my journal up in front of some
Ranking
journal that's
somebody.
been on there already. And like, oh, cool, look, I can word this in a certain way to like shoot it up there. It's like, cool, I found my journal right away. It's like, right on page one. It's the third book down or first book. I was like, ahead of the sponsored ads, like, oh my goodness, cool. Let me see what else, what other words can I put in there to get that higher? It's like, cool. Not that it sold the book, but it, you
You're
know, I can
discovering,
find
you're
I can
learning.
manipulate
Yeah,
it.
you're
I was like,
learning and
oh
you're having
wow.
fun while you're learning. That was a fascinating piece for me, but I wanted to just back up right before that. Like, what do you remember what happened for you to gain that understanding? of like titling and then being able to look for, because
Well,
this is something that I keep on struggling with teaching people, is like it's so second nature to me that I can't even fathom like where the disconnect is. So from you like asking me all those questions about titles, subtitles, backend keywords, to where you were like, oh, if I do this, I can then check here and see how I did.
yeah, it got to be like a game
No, but do you
almost.
remember that turning
Because it was
point?
frustrating. Like, where's my journal at the beginning? Like, where's my stuff? Like, it's buried. I can't even find it on the page that I titled it on. Like, because my titles were so bad, my subtitles were so bad, or my keywords must have been terrible.
So now that you can look back and say they were bad, do you remember what made you think they were bad, or just the understanding piece that like, oh, now I get it. I can
Um,
now put better
More
keywords in
research
there.
and understanding,
And
like
the understanding came from just
looking.
doing
Yeah,
doing
definitely.
what? Looking for your book?
Yeah, because or looking at more pages on Amazon, because I'm not like an Amazon. I'm not on Amazon. I don't buy things on Amazon. So I was like, I'm not on there as not enough. I wasn't on the pages enough to gather all the information. Like I'd see, oh, these are all yellow or something. But then you'd go to this, you could go to the same page and say, oh, these are all yellow, but look, they all say blah blah blah. Or oh, they have this. Like just to kind of group the things
So
together.
seeing patterns.
Seeing patterns
So it's just you
and
needed to.
seeing more patterns, like not knowing enough to catch everything on the first time I'm looking at that page.
So
Because I
I guess
remember
just
when we were doing the research in the beginning, you were like, oh, this is the same book. And like, I was like, what? I don't even remember that. Like, because I'm looking at so much stuff, but not
information
catching all
overwhelmed.
of
Okay,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You've done this so much that you're recognizing things. I wasn't recognizing things. But the more you look at it and the more you research and all the rabbit holes that you go down, then you start seeing the patterns and stuff. So I could catch, I was like, oh, I could add that word or add that word, whatever.
So I don't know if it's a I can wrap that up by just like, oh, you got to put the time in, but it's your seeing it and being frustrated made you question it and want to figure it out.
Right.
So I
Yes.
think just creating the books and not being able to find them started that frustration. And I think from that frustration, the next thing you were trying to do is just gain understanding.
Definitely.
And the only way that you were able to gain understanding is just by doing
Yes.
more research.
Yes. Because you can't figure it out in doing a set of monogram books. Like that's just 24, which seems like a lot, but it's not, that's not enough information. So you have to just keep persisting and looking at it and putting different books up there and see if those show up, those don't, why not? I mean, figuring that all out. I didn't know exactly everything to look for. So
Yeah, I
after
guess
just
that
doing it a bunch of times.
sense of overwhelm where I'm doing it
Mhm.
and I'm clicking on the stuff and I am so used to seeing that page that my brain can like decipher it very quickly, to where you were seeing it but it was like too much information.
Correct.
You were probably seeing the same thing I was seeing but were unable to process it the same way that I was processing it.
Right. Because I didn't even know uh, M, the manufacturers, the rating or whatever,
The BSR,
the BSR. So I don't even know the name of it, but
the
like that,
bestseller rank. Sorry,
yeah,
I should explain.
bestseller ranks BSR. So that number at first, like that number didn't even like pop up at me or whatever. That was important to see that number, but with the title and the colors and the styles and the words, everything, it was just like
Way
too
too much.
much information. Yeah. So the more you do it and the more practice you have and the more you put your things up there, then you can see, oh, this is important. Then you add, then you got that. Then you add another piece of information that's important. Oh, okay, I got that. And then it doesn't get, it's not so
Overwhelming.
overwhelming anymore. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, because I
To
feel
me,
like
for me anyway.
that's the part where it's like it's so baked in to me that as soon as I like bring up an Amazon page, like it's already pre-sorted in my
Yeah,
mind.
that's no,
I think that's why we made the Wingman 5-step test. It's like give people at least things to look at and
that
be
was
aware
helpful.
of. But I don't know if it's like preventing people from taking action. Like the taking action takes precedence over the 5-step test. Regardless of what that 5-step test says, you should still take action and test it out. The 5-step test was a way to like help people
That was like a
speed up
guide for me.
the learning process.
I
Yeah.
actually had a column in my sheet. Does it pass the 5-step test? Because it was something for me to look at. Oh, I'm supposed to be looking at the BSR. Oh, I'm supposed to be
Mm.
looking at how many are on the page. Oh, I'm supposed to be looking at the number in the left-hand corner that says, oh, it's 5,000. Oh, don't even go in that category right now because I'm just at the beginning. So go to the one with the less number. You said it's under 1,000, right? So I was like, okay, let's at least stick to these perimeters for now, so I can get some books up
It's
in
like
these
training wheels
categories.
almost
Yes,
for this
exactly.
process. And I think maybe it does help with the overwhelm to like sort it out, to go, here's
Yes,
the process. I look for this first, look for this second, and then I can just go through. And maybe you do that enough to where it's like, okay, now I don't have to like check in every time.
right.
Now I'm starting to see this and process it and see the patterns that I can apply. But
Well, I'm still there, but maybe
well, I
up to
think you're beyond
10,000
that
books or something.
because you're picking a place that you want to test a product and then being able to show up in that place above a lot of other people because you're starting to understand how to create a listing and get it where you want. Now, where you want might not be the best place for it, but at least you can understand, okay, if I do these things in my listing, it has this effect on where it shows up.
Yes, I did learn that.
That's a huge lesson that I think even a lot of people that are having success in KDP are not really understanding because they're just shotgunning and they just continue to shotgun. But that lesson that you learned is going to help you scale the business so much faster because you're going to go, I wanted to go after it's like reindeer journals. I'm going to title it Reindeer Journal. I'm going to use these keywords in the back end. I'm going to make 20 books going after this. I'm going to see where they fall in the market. Then when I see one that works, I know this is the place that I should be going after because traffic is going there and I'm able to get my books there.
Right.
It's hard to know exactly where the traffic's going because there are tools that will guess at it, but Amazon is the only one that knows the information. They're not going to tell any tools. Tools do some in-house calculations that they are doing. Say a tool like Jungle Scout, they do some in-house calculations. It's not in-house calculations for all the tools. Each tool has their own calculations on traffic coming in. You can't control that part. So that's why we don't really focus on that. We just say, what does the market look like? Is it worth spending time to create something for that market?
Mm,
Is there enough people there? Are there enough competition? Is there enough sales to justify you spending time creating a cover, creating the internals, creating a listing to get a book there? We say yes, then you have to test it. And then even when you test it, it's not like, oh, I want my book to show up here. That's exactly where it shows up. Now I'm done. You still have to test where that book is showing up. You create the listing, you're trying to go after Reindeer Journal. It didn't quite go after Reindeer Journal. Some reason you landed on like Hanukkah celebration journal. It's like something weird. It's like, okay, I shot for this, but I missed it. Now, if
mm-hmm.
I keep shooting, I can kind of dial it in and know where I'm going to be landing. That process, I think, is extremely beneficial because you can use that more than KDP. Because now, if I ask you to make a bundle, you'd be able to go, oh, okay, I know kind of where I want this bundle to show up. Now I kind of know the keywords that I
Well,
have to make.
yeah.
I would
I've
almost
got a
try to do
little
that.
small understanding of it.
Well, you can see the market and know kind of what keywords to use to get yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't make like maybe the bundle thing is a long strap, but if I had headphones and a microphone, you wouldn't say like, oh, that's a food bundle. You'd
Right.
be like,
Oh, right.
those are not the keywords. I know it's something to do with microphone. I know it's something to do with headphones. Who are the customers using that for? Is it gaming? Is it broadcasting? Like you'd be able to go, okay, these are the type of keywords. Let me look at those places and then determine if I should be going after that or not. That's what you're doing with the books.
Yeah.
You're having an idea and then doing research and seeing if it's worth going after.
Right.
And I think that's why you're having more success now from just the ideas that you have because you know what to do with those ideas.
Yeah.
Whereas before you had a lot of ideas, but you was just like, I don't know what the next
Right.
step is.
And I kind of switched to what my interests were, to what I saw was a small niche that I could sell in.
So more than just the monogram.
Yeah.
You have your own niche that you're going after and focusing in on, and you're able to test it and see the gaps in the market for your interest.
Yeah. And then how some of them, it's like, I don't even know where that book's showing up because it's selling somewhere. Well, like in the UK, I never look on the UK's site. I was like, oh, okay. Somebody in the UK likes that, whatever.
We've had a lot of those too. Like I
Like,
have a book that just sells really good in Japan. I don't understand it, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, okay, is everybody in the office going, hey, I got this? I was like, because there'd be like 2 sales one day, 2 sales the next day. Like, why is that happening? I don't know, but it's going. So
So
that's, I was
taking
just going to say
action to
that was
find
where I
consistency.
was getting frustrated. Like, okay, nothing's selling, nothing's selling.
Now you're at the flip side of it where something's selling, you don't know why.
Right.
That's why I said it's just a learning process. Like it's extremes at some point when you're getting started because it's so frustrating at times because you have no like you have nothing to grab onto. So it's like I'm doing this thing, I'm expecting this. My perception is it should do this, and then it does something like wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like that's where the frustration comes in. Then when you do something and it does line up, that's when like that celebration comes in where you're just like, oh, I remember the first time when you were able to find a book, like you were like, oh,
I
Steven,
found it.
look. And then the first time you had a sale,
I was
it's
gonna
like
say,
each
first
one
time
of
I got a
those
sale, I was like, yes, I got a
each one of
sale.
those like catapults you up. And then like having the frustration is not so frustrating and having that win is not such like a high, then it kind of levels out. Then you have a more like consistent trajectory up. Because I think now with the more consistent sales that you're having, seeing a niche that you enjoy, being able to apply the information that you've learned to the ideas that you have, that's when like a business starts growing. And then you go, oh, okay, I'm consistently having success here. Now, how can I attempt to automate this? Do I need to hire somebody? Do I need to have a outline or a blueprint or something that I can speed these listings up? Like that's the next part of the business that I feel a lot more confident in helping you with. So next year, if you want to continue
Well,
on this path,
I was thinking I want to like, now I just have the same internals, so I want to like tweak
increase
that
the
a little bit or go into coloring books or different whatever, just to get that experience. But
yeah. And I guess it'll be another interesting
that'll
recap
be frustrating.
where you go to learn something new, and then we could recap that journey. Like I
Okay.
want to make better internals. I don't know. This is a new concept for me. Let's track that progress and just go, oh, I learned this. I tried this. This is what I'm doing. I'm having success or not having success. And then at the end, like this, oh, I learned so much. I think the biggest thing that I took away from talking to you outside of this is just like going back and rewatching that content because you don't pick it all up. Like when I'm talking
Yeah.
to you now, there's like only a certain percent that you're actually able to capture and apply. But going back seemed to really
I was
help
going to
you.
say I was going to say that earlier, that it was very good that we recorded it, because then I would go back and watch. I was like, oh my goodness, like if you would have asked me, did we talk about that? I was like, no, no way. And then it's in the video. I'm like, okay, it did
Well,
happen.
it was funny
So
because one of the days that it actually happened, I said, go back and rewatch it. Remember when you were asking me about like
yeah,
the keywords? You're like,
I
you
was
didn't tell
like,
me anything. I was like, Ma, go back. I could
and you
pull
did.
up the part of the video that I said this. And you were like, oh yeah, you did say that. But that's when I was like, oh, maybe it's just too much
Yeah, it was like,
information.
go
Yeah.
too much.
That's when I was like, oh, I'm so glad we are recording this. Because it initially was for that reason. I'm going to record it for you to have it. And then I was like, well, if we're going to do that, we might as well broadcast it in a small
Sure.
group.
Yeah.
Then it went over like gangbusters in small group. Then I was like, maybe we should share this on YouTube. And it seems to get a lot of traction on YouTube. So I'm just like, okay, let's continue this on. It doesn't have to be so
It was
rewatch those
kind of
videos. They're very
tedious.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're hard
very
for me to watch.
tedious.
But just like maybe wrap ups like this and then other things that you're learning. So it doesn't have to be just like, here's my mom, here's an update on my mom. It's like, here's an update on my mom, and here's some more learning. And we can just provide more learning for the people.
Yeah, I was really did not think I'd be able to do one book. I mean,
Well, even when you said none of these are ever gonna sell, and then it was like you went on vacation to Torrey's, and then one of them sold,
yeah,
and you're like, hey, one of them sold. I was like, Mom, remember what you said before you left that these are never gonna sell. I don't know any of this stuff. I was like, it just in POD it is interesting because there's not like you have enough information, and then with that information, then you have success. It's like just the action that you take provides enough lines in the water that one of those might have a possibility of selling.
yeah. You have to have the books up there for them to sell. That's for sure.
Because those monogram journals, if I had to bet, I would have bet big on none of these are ever going to sell because it's just way too much competition and there's too
Yeah, I
many
was
like
shocked.
weird variations that people could have where it's just like no matter how you search those things, it was like the same 20, 30 books almost
Yeah,
consistently. So I was like, you're never going to be able to break into this because there's just too much. But who knows? Somebody typed in some long tail thing, or maybe somehow they were looking somewhere else and they saw your book from a different path where they weren't typing it in. But it doesn't matter because you did the action and put the book up, you
right,
had the sale.
right.
So that's why I said,
So
like, no
it's
matter what you
exciting.
start with, just do it. You're going to learn so much from that process and get better at it. To by the point you go, okay, I'm done with monogram journals. I'm going to move on to the next thing. some of those things that you started with might work. Because that's what happened with me and Dan. And Dan was just shooting up all kinds of stuff. And then one of these ideas really took off. And that's what I was like, oh, okay, now we should learn more about this.
About that
Because
category.
doing wholesale, private label, all those other ways, like it takes so long to get stuff to the market. Getting things to the market and testing that out is the part that I love. And like you said, you get excited about like, instead of going out and buying product for $20, $30, even a small test, then getting it in, making the listings, sending it in, waiting all that time. It was like, oh, my mom has an idea. She can do that idea tonight and then tomorrow see what happens. And even some of the times when you were like, I put this book up yesterday, I can't find it. I was like, Ma, like, give it a few days and then go look for it. Like that, it
was
is
the
fast.
opposite of the
Yeah.
3 months or whatever. I was like, it didn't show up. Like,
I
what's
just
going
hit
on?
live and it said it was live. I can't find it. Where is this book at? I was like, it takes time for Amazon to like actually put the book in all the places and for it to like understand where that book should live and then promote it, or not promote it, but push it up a little bit to
Right.
where you could possibly find it. Like it just takes a while for it to index. And it was funny to me that you were like, you did the process so fast that you were like impatient to even wait to see where it was. It's like, it's not instant, but it
Yeah,
is
you're like,
fast.
give it a month. I'm like, a month? Okay.
But
When
it's
you
so
went
funny from
from
when we
like
were,
3 months, if it showed up in 3
well, do you
months.
remember making those bundles? Like
Yeah,
even the Trader Joe's bundles, like it took
right. With
so
the
long, like
product, the loafa and everything.
doing all
Yeah.
the research and then buying the
Yeah.
stuff and then
Putting
creating the
it
listing,
together,
sending
sending
it
it
out,
in, waiting to see if it
the
sold.
shipping, and then
Yeah.
the Amazon to actually get. It was like, that's what I was like trying to remember to explain that to you, but I couldn't at the time. But I was like, that process took us
I know.
months
And I know how it
versus you just like
was.
making a listing and getting it up. I just thought that was hilarious when you were like, I can't find it. I was like, how long has it been? Yesterday. I was like, nah, give it, give it a little bit of time. I know I'm impatient. That's why I thought it was so funny because I was like, this must be what it feels like when it's just like, Desi, I need this. I need it yesterday. I'm happy that we did this.
Okay.
I can't watch those videos because I feel like
I can.
even some of those videos, some people were messaging me like, oh, it's so nice that you're working with mom. I was like, I feel like I was mean to her the whole time. I was just like, that's not how I want to come off, but it was like, that's how I felt about those videos. And people were like, oh, we didn't get that vibe at all. So I'm glad we did this. I think just being open and honest like this is something that I really appreciate and enjoy. I wish I had something like this when I got started because it is extremely frustrating to do this stuff on your own.
Yeah, there's no way I would have done it on my own.
I just remember like pulling on my hair. I think that's the whole reason me and Athena started this, turning on the camera, this wingman idea was just like, we are learning so many lessons and we want to just share with you guys. This is a journey that me and my mom are doing with KDP. Me and Athena are going to be doing a lot more Shopify. We enjoy POD because of the earning while you're learning, plus testing without having to put up large amounts of money. There's been a lot of things that we dumped money into, tested them
Yeah.
out, and then found like, oh, we just wasted
Didn't work.
a whole bunch of money. Versus this, where you can have an idea, test it, see what works, and then grow and scale
Yeah.
an actual
I have
business.
not, I would, I haven't spent any money.
Just a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time, not even a lot of time, but I should probably spend more time on it. I would probably be more successful, but
Yeah, I guess
and
that's
I've
what
traveled a lot, so I was like, oh, I should have been working on this or whatever. But
this is a very part-time business for you. But even with that time that you're putting in, you're still having success.
yeah,
It's not like
I was
it's taking
holding
over
the
your life.
baby. With my daughter's holding the baby. Okay, I'm like, wait, Connie, I'll get your bottle. Hold on, I gotta research this one last thing.
This is something I want to do more in 2020. This is why me and Nathaniel have like really just thought about our business and consolidated a lot of things and going, I really like doing this. I don't know if this is consulting, coaching, teaching, whatever this is, but more of a one-on-one feel.
Hand
I don't know
holding.
what that looks like going into 2020, but it is something that I want to be offering people. If that is something that you feel like you need or want, please reach out to me. You can leave wherever this is going to be, Facebook, YouTube, leave a message below if that's something that you're interested in. Just going, yes, I would like to work with you one-on-one. I don't know what that looks like. Like my mom said, we do a lot of things and have a lot of business partnerships. I'm trying to hand off larger sections of our business to people that we're currently working with to free back up my time because I thoroughly enjoy this, working more one-on-one with people than like running these businesses that we're scaling. I think other people are better managers than me. To be completely honest, I like to have ideas and then completely switch everything where you should be bolting parts onto your business besides mounting. bouncing and we have not bolted properly. So that's something that me and Nathaniel are working out. But it is a goal of mine in 2020 to work more with people individually. So like I said, if that's you, please leave a comment below. If it's not, no problem. You can keep watching these videos. We like doing this. This helps me a lot more than I think it helps my mom. It's just like processing the information that I have and then teaching somebody allows me to like sort and organize it in my mind. And I think that's sometimes what gets me into trouble is like I'm trying to chew on all these ideas and then we end up making an action where it was like, oh, if I was able to like process this a little bit better, I would have made a better business decision. Because we talked on Monday about me blowing up at Nathaniel and I was like, if I would have just
Oh
like
yeah.
processed that information, it would have not turned out like that. So I appreciate it. I love you,
I
Ma.
love you too.
We'll keep doing
Thank you.
these. I don't know if they'll be as consistent because we're going into the holiday season. Um, I'm not quite sure what your 2020 plans are if you're coming back. I'm assuming you're coming back, but then going again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll figure out a way for us to continue doing this. It just won't be as consistent on Wednesdays.
Right. Well, if you have a laptop, you can travel and do your business. So it's great.
Maybe we'll try to set up some of these on calls where I just like, hey, man, do you have time to do whatever? And then we'll record it and then we'll figure it out. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. And this video will go up on YouTube. All right, guys, take it easy.